Hey, it's Hunt. You found Hunt on Saints. We're talking black and gold football. Do us a favor. Hit the like button, share your comments below, and hit that subscription button so you can get all of our content. Enjoy. Where would you put that performance from the Saints on Sunday against the performance against maybe New England on the road, Indianapolis on the road? I think those are probably their best performances. Where does this one rank?
Yeah, it's right at the top for me. I mean, just considering the stakes, considering that Tampa's really probably the best team they've beat. Yeah, I mean, Indy was just like maybe 2 games into the Gardner Minshew thing there. Yeah, I just think offensively, defensively, best game of the season. Look, they would have held Tampa to 3 and out on their first 5 drives, if not for a couple ticky-tack penalties. Yeah, their offense got going early for felt like the first time all year. And yeah, the fourth quarter wasn't great, obviously, but yeah, I just think start to finish that was their best by my measure.
What'd you like the most about it?
I kind of just alluded to, I really like that they got off to a fast start. I mean, I feel like half of this season we've just been talking about how this team can't get anything going offensively until late, and they get behind and they're having to dig out of these early deficits. For them to go out and score a touchdown on the opening drive, which, by the way, for the first time this season, they were able to do that, and really just set the tone in that game, in a really, really important game. I mean, that was the most impressive part to me. And it's one game. If they go out this week against Atlanta and they go down in a 14-0 hole by halftime, it'll be like, all right, same old Saints. But it was really encouraging to see that they could actually do that. Like, they could play their style of football. They were physical in that game. They were getting after Baker Mayfield, even if it didn't result in a bunch of sacks. I mean, they were making life difficult on him in the pocket. They were controlling the line of scrimmage. I just think that's like the style of football they want to play. It's just the first time we've been able to really see him play it this year.
Derek Carr, the word I've used is it's efficient, because it's not like he's been prolific in terms of the statistics, but they've been in the right play and they've moved the ball pretty well. What's been the difference from him in December as opposed to September, October?
Well, I think one is he's healthy,
Yeah.
or he's healthier than he was. I don't think his shoulder is bothering him nearly as much. Yeah, I think the protection's been really good too, which those two things probably go hand in hand. But he only took 1 sack this last week, and really it was when he was trying to throw the ball away. He just stepped out of bounds before he could get rid of it. So he didn't get hit a lot, and I think he's operating much more like the offense has much better tempo and rhythm in the last couple weeks. I think one of the things that was really frustrating about watching him early in the season is there were so many plays in the game where he was just like waiting for something to come open and waiting for something to come open. And, he played his own part in their pass protection struggles. But I think he's been really decisive with the football lately. And I think that's why we're seeing the offense kind of take a little bit of a step forward, and why we're seeing his numbers and his efficiency numbers really increase.
2 DMPs from pretty important Saints offensive weapons. Jawan Johnson and Alvin Kamara did not practice yesterday. Any update on those 2 guys for this weekend?
Alvin, I don't think Alvin's going to play. It's really hard for literally any player to come back from a sprained ankle in 1 week. Anybody who's ever sprained an ankle knows it's not, it's something that stays with you for a little bit. But it's especially hard for a running back, and especially one like Alvin. He relies on so much change of direction. I'd be really, really surprised if he goes. But Jawan Johnson, I think I would expect to be out there, which is good, because he finally did the thing that we were all expecting him to do at the beginning of the season. We all thought that he would have a lot more games like the one he had against Tampa. So I think he'll be good to go. I think he'll be out there.
Dre Miller with another ankle, a limited participant. I know that obviously with Kamara likely being out, they'd like to have him. How does the running back rotation look one way or another?
Yeah, I think Kendra is going to play. I just don't know how much they're going to count on him. I would expect like a lot of Jamal Williams, and I would expect a ton of Taysom Hill too. I mean, the guy has just done nothing but like eviscerate Atlanta throughout his career, and he probably wants a little retribution after that goal line fumble against them last time out. So I would kind of that would be the move in just if I were to guess would be 15 to 20 carries for Jamal Williams if everything's going right, and then another 8 to 12 for Taysom Hill, and kind of get Kendre in there as a little bit of a change of pace. I think when Dre Miller has been at his best this year, it's actually been as a receiver. He's had a couple explosive plays as a pass catcher on screens or whatever it is. I think that might be more of his role, but I don't think we're going to see a heavy workload for him.
Yeah, you kind of stole my next question there, but we'll kind of expound on that. It's like, what do we know about Dre Miller, the NFL player? It just seems like he's just continued to come back and then immediately head right back to the sideline.
Yeah, it's been a really disappointing, frustrating rookie year for him. I talked to him yesterday, and it's really just been the year of 2023, right? Like the first day of that year, he suffers a knee injury in TCU's playoff game.
Yeah.
And it knocked him out for most of the offseason. Then he gets in, he pulls his hamstring, and that knocks him out for a couple of weeks. And then he was dealing with the ankle. And we haven't really gotten to see what he can do. But in our limited glimpses of him when he's actually healthy, he's a really explosive player. It hasn't mattered much when he's been on the field because they've had their significant problems in run blocking. You've seen that kind of across the board. I don't think Alvin Kamara and Jamal Williams and Dre Miller are a group who's going to average like 3.2 yards a carry for a lot of teams. They just had a lot of problems blocking up front this year. But I think if he ever got to a point where he's playing with an offensive line that's opening some holes, I think we could see him be a player who busts long runs. We saw the explosiveness. It's just we just haven't seen it in games, which is really unfortunate for him.
We know in this market like how incestuous the SEC is in terms of coaching trees and assistants, and because geography is so important in college football with recruiting. It's not that important in the NFL. However, the Saints and Falcons share so many different links in terms of personnel and coaches and assistants and all of that, especially on Dennis Allen's side of the football. Is that a storyline? Was it a few weeks ago when the Saints in Atlanta played, and is it this time around in terms of they just know each other extremely well?
Yeah, I mean, we tried to make it a storyline last time, but Dennis Allen pretty much shot everything down. It's really interesting. Like that first matchup, it seemed like every time the Saints played somebody, it was like right after the Falcons played somebody. So it's almost like they got this like scouting heads up where they're like, oh, this is what this team does against our scheme.
Yeah.
Because Ryan Nielsen's over there. I mean, obviously it didn't really help them out a lot early in the season, but I mean, there's obviously some similarities there. Like the Falcons, obviously they're running Ryan Nielsen's scheme, which is very similar to what Dennis Allen ran. The personnel is very similar. They've got former Saints players on that defense. But, it is a little bit different. I mean, they got a playmaker back there in Jesse Bates who, allows them to do some different things than the Saints do. So, part of it is a little advantageous, I think, from the Saints side. And part of it, the Falcons are like, okay, we know what they like to run in these specific situations. I think it ends up all coming out in the wash in the end. If the Falcons are smart, they'll be like, oh, hey, we've run the ball for 200 plus yards against these guys like 3 games in a row. Like it's not, you don't need Ryan Nielsen there to be like, yeah, we need to run the ball against these guys. I think it ends up just being, not much at all.
Yeah, look, we know that this has been a disappointing season for the Saints based on the personnel and the schedule that was in front of them. My contention earlier in the week was that I don't believe that 3 hours is going to dictate the future of the organization one way or another. I'll ask it to you, like, how important is this game for the Saints, for Dennis Allen, for the future immediately of this team and franchise?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I don't think the outcome of one game is going to be like, okay, well, we need to tear it all down and start over. All that being said, though, I think it is really important for Dennis Allen to have a winning season. He's never had one of those. I think this is a locker room that's full of a bunch of veteran players, who, I mean, they take pride in what they do. And, I think this is an important game in that regard. But, I think if they lose this game and miss the playoffs, I don't think they're going to be like, well, you guys had it all in your hands at your fingertips there and you blew it. So, we're going to sell off all our assets and fire the coaching staff. It's just not how this organization operates. And I I don't think they're really in a position to do a full teardown anyways, just because of their financial commitments to players. Yeah, it's not like they can just release players with no financial penalties,
Sure.
you know. So they've got a difficult situation to navigate, whether they win and make the playoffs or whether they lose and they have like the number 12 draft pick. I don't think this is going to change that or their approach to things.
As we sit here today, you think that the vast majority of this coaching staff is back next year?
I wouldn't say vast majority. I mean, I think there's going to be changes on the offensive side of the ball. I think there has to be. Look, Dennis Allen, I think, is going to be back next year. I don't think there's any question about that. But, you know, I think the guy's got to be on kind of thin ice here, right? And I think they've got to change some things about how they operate if he's going to get a chance to come back for a fourth season. And, you know, frankly, their offense has to be a lot better. I mean, we've been saying this for years now. And, you know, they've found a little bit of a rhythm here lately, but, you know, they've done it against some kind of bad teams. They haven't done it against really good teams yet. So, you know, I would expect some changes on the offensive side of the ball. And, and defense is a little bit more tricky. I think that really the changes we'll see there are more personnel related.
All right, Luke, enjoy the football on Sunday. We'll talk next week.
Sounds good, man. See ya.
He's Luke Johnson, Saints reporter for The Advocate. You can check him out on Twitter @ByLukeJohnson. Always does an awesome job with the Saints. He said it. He said Dennis Allen will be back. He didn't think there's any question about it. I think there's a question about it. There has to be a question about it, in my opinion. I would move on, and we've already know that. I want to reject the notion that there's just no question he's got to be back. I get the fact that the Saints aren't in a position to snap their fingers and overhaul this thing. There's a lot of big financial commitments that just aren't able to be changed. But I'm curious. We'll see. They need to win. He needs to win on Sunday. I don't think it boils down to 1 hour, but it makes that decision a lot easier and cleaner if it is another losing record and you lose at home to a bad Atlanta team that seems lost at this point. But hey, it's on. Thanks for watching Hunt on Saints. Before you leave, help us out a little bit. Hit that like button, leave your comments in the section below, and hit that subscribe button so you get all our content right here from Hunt on Saints. We'll see you next time.